I'm Laura Trevelyan in Washington, and this is BBC World News America. President Zelensky goes to Bucha and accuses Russian troops of committing genocide. The town and its people have been the target of a Russian attack, though Russia claims the evidence has been faked. As Ukraine's president says, these are war crimes.
Russian soldiers treat people worse than animals. There is real genocide, what you've seen here today.
An apocalyptic warning on climate change. The UN says emissions must peak within the next 3 years, or it'll be too late. In New Zealand and Hong Kong, COVID cases are going up after 2 years of very few infections. We'll ask an advisor to New Zealand's government what's going on. And is it California, Australia? No, Devon in southwest England is officially the latest cool place to surf. Welcome to World News America on PBS and around the globe. President Zelensky has been to the Ukrainian town of Bucha, where shocking images of dead civilians have led to widespread condemnation of Russia. President Zelensky vowed to hold Russian forces to account for what he called war crimes. President Biden called Vladimir Putin a war criminal and said the Russian leader should be put on trial. Russia denies any involvement, saying the images are staged and fake. Our correspondent, Yogita Lemay, went to Bucha with President Zelensky and a warning. Her report does contain distressing images. Well, turning from Ukraine to other news, and in their latest report, UN scientists are warning we're on course for devastating changes to our climate. Emissions of greenhouse gases need to peak within the next 3 years if we're to stave off the worst effects. And the head of the UN called out government and business leaders for saying one thing on reducing emissions and doing another, accusing them of lying, saying the results will be catastrophic. Here's our climate editor, Justin Rolat. In other news now, Hong Kong's controversial chief executive, Carrie Lam, whose period in office was marked by violent demonstrations against the rising influence of Beijing, is not seeking a second term. Ms. Lam is expected to be replaced by her deputy, John Lee, when an official committee meets in May. In recent months, she was criticised for not being able to control a huge spike in COVID infections. Viktor Orban's victory in Hungary's election at the weekend was emphatic, but that hasn't stopped European election observers from criticising the outcome. They've said there was a lack of balance in the campaign and a lack of oversight of campaign finances, which helped the governing coalition. Mr. Orban's victory by a landslide gives him a fourth term in office. On Tuesday, Pakistan's Supreme Court is due to decide on the fate of the embattled Prime Minister Imran Khan. On Sunday, members of his party blocked a vote of no confidence in the Prime Minister and dissolved Parliament. Furious opposition politicians have now asked the Supreme Court whether that was constitutional. Mr. Khan claims the vote was part of a US-led conspiracy to remove him, but the US has denied this. We turn next to the pandemic. In recent weeks, many countries have seen cases rise due to a new subvariant of Omicron known as BA2. But 2 years into this pandemic, levels of immunity to COVID-19 vary drastically from nation to nation. Here in the US, cases are low at the moment. Omicron sent infections soaring in January, and BA2 hasn't yet caused a new wave, though it has in the UK. Given just how many people in the US caught COVID early this year, there are questions about whether immunity could blunt the impact of BA2 in America. Now compare that with Hong Kong and New Zealand. Early in the pandemic, both countries kept cases very low, but in recent weeks, they've seen relatively high rates of infection. Joining us now is Professor Michael Baker. He advises New Zealand's Ministry of Health on COVID-19. Welcome to the programme from the other side of the world, Professor Baker. So the world remembers just how New Zealand really locked down and closed its borders very early on in the pandemic. But now you're seeing cases go up. How bad is it, though, really? Professor Michael Baker, thanks so much for joining us there from New Zealand.
Thank you.
Well, now to Sri Lanka, where thousands are protesting against shortages of fuel, food and medicines. The demonstrators have been calling for the resignation of President Rajapaksa, accusing his government of mishandling the economy. Our South Asia correspondent, Rajini Vaidyanathan, reports now from the capital, Colombo. Turmoil there in Sri Lanka. Well, we go next to the home of surfing. No, not Malibu in California, not Australia's Gold Coast, but in fact, Devon in southwest England. That's correct. Devon is now a world surfing reserve, one of only 12 in the world and the first in the UK. John Kay has the story. And remember, you can find much more on all of the day's news at our website. Plus, to see what we're working on at any time, do make sure to check us out on Twitter. I'm Laura Trevelyan. Thank you so much for watching BBC World News America.
Hello there. We've started the week yet more stormy weather across parts of southern Spain